From the Renaissance era, Leonardo da Vinci's masterpieces, like the Mona Lisa, revolutionized portrait art through exploration of human expression. During the Baroque period, Caravaggio emerged with dramatic use of light and shadow, capturing intense, emotive scenes that bewildered viewers. The 19th century showcased Vincent van Gogh's vivid works, including Starry Night, which used bold colors and emotive brushstrokes. In the modern era, Frida Kahlo's evocative self-portraits challenged norms and conveyed a powerful personal and cultural narrative. Art, design, and the visionary concepts of prolific artists. Let us delve into the lives of those who brought vibrancy to the canvas of creativity. Welcome to the Artsy Tea channel. I am to serve as your tour guide for this episode. Vincent van Gogh was born on March 30th, 1853, Zundert, Netherlands. Vincent was a quiet, intense kid out of his siblings who dabbled in religion and worked as an art dealer, but after a spiritual crisis and a few failed career pivots, including a stint as a missionary, he turned to painting in his late 20s. His brother Theo bankrolled his art dreams while Vincent bounced between cities and obsessions. When Vincent arrived in Paris in 1886, he stepped into a storm of creativity. Impressionism was fading, and new movements were popping up like wildflowers. Vivid, daring, untamed. He landed in Montmartre with his brother Theo, determined to soak it all in and leave his mark. And soak he did. Vincent traded the earth-toned grit of his early Dutch works for color explosions. He absorbed influences from every corner. Dappled light from the Impressionists, bold outlines from Japanese woodblocks, and wild, pointillist dots from the Neo-Impressionists. His own style began to brew. Emotionally raw, charged with energy, and fiercely original. But here's the twist. While he was evolving faster than a chameleon on a disco floor, the art world paid him no mind. He painted relentlessly, hundreds of pieces in a handful of years, yet he remained virtually unknown. No big shows, no gallery hype. What held him back? Partly his outsider status. He wasn't courting critics. He was intense, socially awkward, and far more interested in painting than playing the art market game. So while others dined with dealers, Vincent dined on coffee and bread, obsessing over brushstrokes and bleeding passion into every canvas. Even in obscurity, he never slowed down. His Paris period became the pressure cooker that forged the signature Van Gogh style, expressive, electric, and completely his own. By 1888, Vincent had spent 2 intense years in Paris. He'd absorbed every color theory, every avant-garde whisper, and every ounce of urban chaos. But the city was wearing him down. The noise, the crowds, the constant comparison to more successful peers, it all chipped away at his fragile mental health. He craved clarity and simplicity. So he packed his brushes and headed south to Arles, a sleepy town in Provence. He called it the Japan of the South because of its light, serenity, and beauty. Vincent envisioned Arles as the birthplace of a new artistic brotherhood, a utopia where painters could live and work in harmony. He even rented the now famous Yellow House to host fellow artists, and the result? A creative explosion. In just over a year, he produced some of his most iconic works: Sunflowers, The Night Cafe, The Bedroom, and The Red Vineyard. The colors got bolder, the brushstrokes more electric. Nature, peasants, and Provençal life became his muses. Despite the beauty around him, isolation crept in. His dream of an artist commune fizzled. Only Gauguin showed up, and that ended in disaster. Vincent's mental health spiraled, culminating in the infamous ear incident. Still, even in the midst of breakdowns, he painted with relentless passion. Arles was both his sanctuary and his crucible. After Arles, he voluntarily entered an asylum in Saint-Rémy, then moved to Auvers-sur-Oise under the care of Dr. Gachet. The countryside remained his refuge, and in his final months he painted with a sense of urgency, fields, skies, and crows that seemed to echo his inner storm. Van Gogh didn't just leave the city, he ran towards something purer, something that matched the intensity of his vision, and in doing so, he gave the world some of its most unforgettable art. Van Gogh's life was a tangle of intense connections, both personal and professional, that shaped his art and haunted his soul. Let's unravel the threads. Van Gogh wasn't exactly a social butterfly in the art world, but he did form a few pivotal bonds, such as artist Paul Gauguin, Émile Bernard, and Dr. Paul Gachet. He craved intimacy, but often sabotaged it by being too consumed by his art. He longed for connection, but lived in emotional exile, even when surrounded by people who cared. Vincent's love life was a series of heartbreaks and misfires, often tangled with his need for connection and stability. Some notable highlights are Sian Hornig, the woman he tried to save, and perhaps saw himself in, Kay Stricker, his widowed cousin whom he proposed to, Agustina Segatori, a cafe owner and former model in Paris, and Margot Begeman, a neighbor in Nuenen who fell for Vincent. Before the asylum, swirling skies and sunflower fields, there was Sian, a woman as lost and weathered as Vincent himself. When he met her in The Hague in 1882, she was pregnant, homeless, and surviving however she could. Vincent, still finding his footing as an artist, took her in, not just out of pity, but out of a deep, almost spiritual sense of duty. He saw in her a kindred soul, someone discarded by society, just as he often felt he was. They tried to build something resembling a home. Sian posed for him, cared for her children, and gave Vincent a glimpse of domestic life. But the world around them didn't approve. His family was horrified. Theo, his ever-loyal brother, threatened to cut off financial support if Vincent didn't end the relationship, and that's where the heartbreak deepens. Vincent, for all his empathy, may not have fully grasped the weight of the support he did have. Theo's devotion was unwavering but conditional. Vincent was torn. He left Sienne to focus on painting. It wasn't just a breakup, it was a surrender to the reality that he couldn't save them both. What's tragic is that Vincent likely carried guilt for the rest of his life. He once wrote, "Do I deserve to be left in the lurch because I helped a pregnant woman and don't want to send her back onto the streets?" That line alone shows he knew the stakes and chose one kind of survival over another. Years later, Sienne's life ended in the same shadowed way as Vincent's, by her own hand, two souls who tried to rescue each other, but couldn't outrun the weight of their own pain. Vincent van Gogh's relationship with his younger brother Theo was more than familial. It was everything. Theo wasn't just blood. He was Vincent's anchor in a world that rarely understood him. As an art dealer, Theo believed in Vincent's potential when galleries and critics ignored his work. Even when Vincent had nothing to show for it financially, Theo continued to send him money, supplies, and constant encouragement. But their connection went deeper than finances. Through hundreds of letters, Vincent poured out his thoughts, struggles, obsessions, and artistic dreams. Theo listened, always, with unwavering faith in his brother's talent, even when Vincent doubted himself the most. He wasn't just funding the dream, he was holding the pieces of Vincent's spirit together, trying to escape the pain of leaving Sienne and his lack of confidence as an artist and inner loneliness. Vincent invited Paul Gauguin to join him in Arles. He wasn't just looking for a roommate, he was chasing a dream. Vincent envisioned a brotherhood of artists, a shared space where creativity could thrive without judgment. Gauguin, with his bold ideas and disciplined approach, seemed like the perfect partner to help bring that vision to life. At first, their collaboration sparked real magic. They painted side by side, debated philosophy and color theory late into the night, and pushed each other to new artistic heights. Gauguin's symbolic, structured style challenged Vincent to think differently, to refine his emotional intensity into something more deliberate. In return, Vincent's raw passion and fearless brushwork nudged Gauguin toward greater spontaneity, but the harmony didn't last. Their personalities clashed. Vincent, sensitive and idealistic, Gauguin, proud and often dismissive. Tensions simmered until they finally boiled over in a now infamous argument that ended with Vincent's breakdown and the severing of his ear. Gauguin left Arles the next day without looking back. Vincent tried to mend things, reaching out with letters and even symbolic paintings, like his olive trees, a quiet plea for reconciliation. But Gauguin never returned. Van Gogh was ghosted. The Studio of the South dream was over. As one of the most intense and complicated friendships in art history, their time together was brief and left a permanent mark on both their work and on Vincent's heart. Émile Bernard, a younger artist who shared Vincent's passion for bold color and spiritual symbolism, often exchanged ideas and letters with Vincent. She even tried to mediate between him and Gauguin post-Arles. Their friendship was one of mutual respect, though it cooled over time. Vincent's world unraveled. That moment, when his dream of an artist collective collapsed, wasn't just a personal heartbreak, it was the tipping point. He spiraled into a deep mental and emotional decline, marked by confusion, hallucinations, and episodes of extreme anguish. Shortly after the infamous ear incident, Vincent voluntarily admitted himself to an asylum in Saint-Rémy-de-Provence. But even there, he didn't stop painting. In fact, some of his most iconic works came from that period. Still, the darkness never fully lifted. He had moments of clarity and bursts of creativity, but also relapses that left him exhausted and isolated. In 1890, he moved to Auvers-sur-Oise under the care of Dr. Paul Gachet, hoping for peace and recovery. Instead, he painted with a kind of feverish urgency 70 paintings in 70 days as if he knew time was running out. Then in July of that year, he walked into a wheat field and deleted himself. He died 2 days later, with brother Theo by his side. The people that were deeply connected to Vincent were also affected. Years later, in 1904, Cian's life ended at 54 years old when she tragically took her own life by drowning. They were two souls who tried to rescue each other but couldn't outrun the weight of their own pain. When Vincent died in 1890, worn down by illness and despair, Theo's own health quickly deteriorated. He passed away just 6 months later. Today, their graves rest side by side in Auvers-sur-Oise, France. Vincent van Gogh died believing he was a failure, but the world had only just begun to notice. In the final years of his life, a few avant-garde circles in Paris and Brussels had started to whisper his name. But it wasn't until after his death in 1890 that the real momentum began, and it was largely thanks to one woman, Jo van Gogh Bonger, Theo's widow. Jo inherited hundreds of Vincent's paintings and letters. Instead of locking them away, she became his fiercest champion. After World War I, his fame spread to Britain and the U.S., where collectors and museums began snapping up his paintings. The 1934 novel Lust for Life and its 1956 film adaptation catapulted his story into pop culture. Today, Van Gogh is one of the most celebrated artists in history. His paintings sell for hundreds of millions, and his life continues to inspire books, films, and immersive exhibitions. The world didn't just catch up, it built a shrine to the very vision it once ignored. I trust you found this story and lesson enjoyable. Please remain attentive for future episodes of the Artsy Tea. Until next time.